All right, ready to dive into this whole screen time thing.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's like the parental worry these days, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We see the headlines, we've heard all the warnings, maybe even felt a little guilty when our kid's glued to a tablet.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're all here for more than just the usual anxieties.
Right.
We
yeah.
want the research. We want to know what's really going on.
Absolutely.
And the latest research from CHOC Children's Health Hub,
Mm-hmm.
which we should say this is from August 27th, 2024.
Okay.
So this is very recent stuff.
Very recent.
And it has some surprising twists.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. It's funny because we always come at it with the screens are bad.
Right.
Screens are bad.
Yeah.
But
They're not always bad.
it's more nuanced than that, for sure.
It is. It's like anything else. It's the dose.
Right. The dose makes the poison.
Exactly. And speaking of dose, this article opens with a stat that's kind of mind-blowing.
Okay.
Teenagers are averaging 8 hours a day on screens.
8 hours a day.
8 hours.
Wow.
That's a full-time job.
That is old-time job.
And that's up 2 hours from just 2015.
Just 2015.
So in less than 10 years, it's gone up 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah, and you think about brain development, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, their brains are still developing at that age.
Totally.
So it's not just some arbitrary rule.
Right, like get off your phone, you know.
Exactly.
The American Academy of Pediatrics, you know, the AAP.
Yes.
They have guidelines
They do.
for different ages.
They do. And for the littlest ones, under 18 months, they're pretty strict.
Oh, really?
No screen time except for video chatting.
Oh?
Like with the grandparents or something. So, like...
Because babies' brains are wired for learning through real-life interaction.
Got it. Not screens.
So all those videos we thought were like making our babies smarter,
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
not so much.
Right. Now, between 18 and 24 months, they ease up a bit and they say a little bit of educational media is okay,
Okay.
but it has to be high quality
Okay.
and the parent has to be involved.
So it's about making it a shared experience, not just like plop the kid down.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So no more zoning out while the little one's watching cartoons.
All right. So no more zoning out. I got it.
You got it.
What about, though, between 2 and 5?
2 to 5, the AAP recommends no more than an hour a day.
An hour a day.
An hour a day max of screen time.
Okay.
And again, the quality of the content really matters. And the adult engagement is super important.
It seems like the takeaway here is no screens. It's make it count.
You got it.
Make it worth it if they're going to be there.
Exactly. And then for kids 5 and up, it bumps up to 2 hours max,
Okay.
with the same emphasis on quality over quantity.
And this is where things get interesting, because even with those little baby videos,
Yes.
the ones that we thought were so great,
Yes.
what did the article say about that?
You know, they weren't exactly the miracle workers that they claim to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a real risk of language delay
Wow.
associated with too much screen time, especially for kids under 2.
Under 2, even if it's educational.
Especially under 2.
Just having it on could be detrimental.
That's what the research is suggesting.
Wow.
It's all about how their brains are developing.
So is it better for them to like hear us talking in the other room or something?
Yeah, they learn best through real-life interactions.
Okay.
Hearing language in context, seeing facial expressions, all those little social cues
Yeah.
that screens just can't replicate.
Right. It's so different to hear somebody talking and actually like have a conversation.
Exactly.
What about tablets, though?
Tablets.
It's like the more interactive stuff.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Well, that's where things get interesting.
Okay.
While passive screen time has been linked to these language delays, interactive screen time like educational apps on a tablet might actually have some benefits for language development.
Okay, but there's a but.
There's always a but.
There's always a but.
Even with interactive screens, the adult's role is still absolutely crucial.
So you can't just like hand over the iPad and be like, all right, go learn your ABCs.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
You have to be involved, guide the interaction, ask questions, make connections to the real world.
So turning screen time into, like we were saying, a shared experience.
Exactly.
Not a solo mission.
Exactly. And there's actually a name for this. Have you heard of the video deficit effect?
Video deficit effect, no. Tell me more.
It means that young kids sometimes struggle to apply what they see on screens to real life.
Oh, yeah.
Like they might watch a video of someone building a block tower, but then struggle to do it themselves with real blocks.
So it's like their brains are having a hard time connecting the virtual world
Yeah.
to like what's right in front of them.
Exactly. Screens present information in a way that we don't naturally experience it
Right.
in the real world.
So are we just going to have a generation that can only stack blocks in the metaverse?
Hopefully not.
Okay, good.
This is where parents and caregivers come in. We become the bridge builders.
Bridge builders, I like it.
Engaging with them during screen time, asking those questions, connecting what they see on the screen to their physical world.
So like if they're watching something about building a birdhouse,
Yes.
we say, hey, let's go build a birdhouse.
Exactly. Do that. Make it tangible, make it real. And as they get older, that active role we play as parents becomes even more crucial because the research on screen time's effects on school-aged kids is where it gets even more complex.
Right, because now it's not just baby sensory stuff. It's like
Right.
the whole internet.
The whole internet's open to this.
Right, and all the things that come with that. So it makes sense. It'd be more complex.
And the research reflects that there are still potential risks linked to excessive screen time. Things like behavioral problems, difficulty with vocabulary attention issues.
Yeah, that tracks.
Right.
But the article also mentions some good stuff, right?
It did.
Like some potential benefits.
Yeah, it actually made a really important point that I think sometimes gets overlooked. Access to high-quality educational content, even in the form of screen time, can be really beneficial for kids in lower-income homes.
That makes sense. It can help bridge that gap.
Exactly.
Give them a boost.
Exactly.
So it really is about how it's used.
It's all about how it's used.
Not just like, is it good or bad?
Exactly. And that's why the type of content matters so much. Watching a nature documentary is a completely different experience than spending hours scrolling through social media or playing violent video games.
Totally different. Yeah, it's like a healthy meal versus a bag of candy.
Exactly.
They both give you energy,
Right.
but, one's better for you.
One's better for you in the long run, for sure.
And then there's the whole mental health piece of this.
Yes.
Which is a huge deal, especially with teenagers these days.
It's huge. And the research on screen time and mental health is something we have to approach with nuance because on the one hand, we know there's a correlation between excessive screen time and things like anxiety, depression, and body image issues in teenagers.
Right. It's like every other week there's a new study.
Right.
It's like, yep, screens are bad for teens.
Right.
But then this article highlighted something really interesting, almost like the opposite.
Okay.
There was a study that said teenagers with very low screen time actually reported worse mental health than those with moderate screen use.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
It really speaks to the importance of balance.
So not no screen time, just
No screen time.
like the right amount of screen time.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot. And, some screen time can actually be beneficial for teenagers, especially in terms of social connection.
Right. They're trying to figure out their place in the world, and a lot of that's online now.
Exactly. It's about finding that healthy balance between online and offline. And one factor that seems to really help with that is green time.
Green time. Okay, tell me more.
Spending time in nature.
Okay, so like trading in screen time.
Yeah.
For time in the park.
Exactly.
I like it.
It seems to have this incredible buffering effect against some of the negative impacts of screen time. The article actually mentioned a study where teenagers who had more green time, like walking in the park, gardening, even just being around trees, showed more self-confidence, a better self-image, and less anxiety.
Wow, so it's like nature's like a superpower
It really is.
against the digital world.
It seems that way, and it highlights how important it is to encourage our kids to get outside, step away from the devices and get into the natural world.
Yes, climb a tree, build a fort.
Exactly.
Get his hands dirty.
Yes.
It's funny how we started talking about like limiting screen time, and now we're like, go climb a tree.
Right.
It's like the digital world has like flipped the script on parenting.
It really has in a way, but it's also showing us that some things stay the same. They still need that real world interaction, that creative play, and just getting outside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was this one part in the article, though, that really stuck with me.
Okay.
It said that doctors are having to talk about screen time more and more with at-risk kids.
Yeah.
And it just got me thinking, like, how do we even define at-risk when it comes to tech?
Right.
Because what's risky now
Exactly.
might be like totally normal in a couple of years.
It's a moving target for sure.
Totally.
Mm.
So how do we even, as parents,
Right.
how do we even approach that?
Well, I think it starts with going beyond just like the number of hours
Okay.
and looking at the bigger picture of the kid's life.
So not just like you get 2 hours or whatever.
Not just that.
Okay.
How is their overall well-being?
Okay.
Are they engaged in other activities?
Do they have friends?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Do they have strong social connections offline?
So it's more about like the balance.
Exactly.
So-
And having open conversations with them about what they're doing online.
Which is tough because sometimes it feels like they know more than we do.
Oh, absolutely.
about this stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier about the research.
Yes.
A lot of it's self-reported.
A lot of it is self-reported, which is always
Yeah.
a challenge.
Because are we really being honest with ourselves
Right.
about how long we're on our phones?
Exactly. So it's important to kind of take those findings with a grain of salt, look for patterns in the research, consider the source, and also trust our own instincts as parents.
We know our kids best.
You know your kids best. And that's why I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Don't try to be perfect. Just stay informed.
Be present.
Be present, be engaged, and have those open conversations.
Be open to learning from them sometime
Absolutely.
about this stuff.
Because like you said, they often know more than we do.
They do. They really do.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for breaking all this down.
Oh, you're so welcome.
It can feel like so much sometimes.
Yeah.
So to have it laid out like this has been great.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And to our listeners, we hope this has given you some things to think about.
Yes.
Maybe start some interesting conversations around your own dinner tables.
I hope so.
Remember, the digital world is always changing, but we have the power to figure it out.
We do.
We have the power to keep up.
We got...
We do. We got this. All right. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Bye!